Let's get to it. So, I'll just comment briefly on the game. And obviously the game itself is still totally on the table, but we got to get to the Hurts thing more extensively. But game-wise, I'll just say this. I told you before the game that I thought it was one of the most important regular season games for Jalen in his now 6-year NFL career. And needless to say, he played horrible. Probably the worst game of his career. Now, A.J. didn't help. There's no doubt about that. But this is not about Patullo, Sirianni, or the O-line. It was on Hurts. The defense was incredible. Defense was more than good enough to win a football game. And they couldn't quite bail him out enough. It was almost a perfect formula Eagles win. Jalen doesn't play that well. Everyone else bails him out. But in the end, they couldn't bail him out. So here we are. So what do I mean by here we are? I mean, it is really now finally time, it is upon us, to ask the question whether Jalen should remain the starting quarterback of the Eagles. And I'm curious from your standpoint at 215-592-9494 if you think he should. And I'm going to pose...
This is unbelievable, Joe.
Okay, hold on a second. Well, here's where we are. So I'm going to pose a number of questions.
This is where you are.
Well, and this is where the situation is. So I'm going to pose a number of questions. And I want everyone to think about them all and be ready to call. So question one is... should Hurts remain the starting quarterback? Put another way, who would you start Sunday, Hurts or McKay? Second question is, if you're inclined to start Hurts, are you of the mindset to go to McKay in the next game during the game if Jalen's struggling? Question three, if you're sticking with Hurts for now, are you open-minded to McKay later in the season? And question four, do you think Hurts is playing for his job next season? All of those questions and more on a very complex situation on the table for you at 215-592-9494. Now, I'll weigh in a moment, but John, talk to me. Where are you on any and all of that?
I'm stunned. I'm stunned that after his worst game, it's certainly his worst game ever. It's it's at this point. It's certainly not for me. I look around at the NFL, Joe, and I see Joe Flacco, and this is just after I stocked him in our Porto-let. Joe Flacco becomes a commodity, not to one, two different NFL teams. He was a starter for two different NFL teams this year, the Browns and Bengals. Joe Flacco. Phil Rivers is 44 years old, and he's a grandfather who's being brought back by the Colts because they need a quarterback. Quarterbacks are not easy to find. Phil Rivers is he has 10 kids. He has one grandkid, but he led teams with success. He led teams. He actually tore his ACL and meniscus the week prior to the AFC Championship game in 2007, got meniscus surgery on Monday, and played that Sunday with the torn ACL.
Can I ask the question? What does any of this have to do with Jalen Hurts? I'm asking you a question. Should he be the quarterback?
Phil Rivers is a leader, and that's why he's being brought back. He's a leader who could do this, be a quarterback in the NFL at the highest level. They're not easy to find. We have one who has been to the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years. He won it one of those times and was the MVP of that game.
Yep.
And that was less than a year ago. He had a bad game. We have a good backup. I'm not saying he's good enough to be a starter in this league right now. Not for me, and I'm not even thinking about this. What are you doing?
Well, what we're doing
Jalen
is
had one bad game.
We're doing well, John.
He's been
horrendous
game.
for 5 straight games.
Hold on.
No,
you think about
Don't give
this.
me he's had a bad game. He's had 5 straight horrendous football games.
And before
they
that,
won 2, they lost 3. 5
and before
straight
that, he had a
games.
perfect passer rating game. Remember that?
You're going to put your head in the sand like you did with Carson.
He was looking really good.
All right.
And what about? Hold on. What about the fact that this offense, this play caller, this is problematic.
No.
Yes, the scheme is problematic. Shane Steichen was our play caller for a year and a half here. He was Jalen's
Ladies
play
and
caller
gentlemen,
for a year
here
and a
comes
half.
Hurts protectionism. Go ahead. Hurts protectionism. Take
Year
the
and a
floor.
half. He was the architect of the offense that
everybody
took
else's
us to the
fault.
Super Bowl, and he was the play caller.
Everybody else's fault.
No, he's a good play
Do
caller.
you agree it's primarily
He's
Jalen's fault? Do you agree it's
elsewhere.
primarily Jalen's fault this year?
This last game was
This year, yes or no?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, you got your head in the sand.
13 games in.
It's primarily Jalen Hurts' fault. Guys, let me break this down real simple.
Think
for you.
about Shane Steichen.
I don't
want
want to think about Shane Steichen.
He's where he is.
I want to talk about Jalen Hurts.
He's a good
You're talking
play
about
caller.
Phillip Rivers.
Well, hold on.
I mean, it's all
Stop.
garbage.
He's a good play caller. He's good at designing an offense to accentuate his quarterback, do what the coordinator wants, what he likes, and what the quarterback feels comfortable with, what he likes. That took us to a Super Bowl. Kellen Moore took us to a Super Bowl as the architect of the offense last year. He's the head coach of the New Orleans Saints now because he's so good at that. He's that good a play caller, that good an offensive designer. Now, we know we have one piece, a quarterback who can do it, a quarterback who can spearhead a team with Shane Steichen, the play caller and play designer, or Kellen Moore, the play caller, play designer. Jalen Hurts is the common theme. Jalen Hurts can do this. I believe if I've seen it done before, it can be done again.
All right,
Jalen Hurts needs the right play caller and offensive coordinator.
All right, here's
Joe.
the deal, guys. I'm going to break this down for you and make it real simple. And let's not get it twisted. Jalen's been the biggest part of the problem. We've seen Jaws, Randall, Donovan, and Carson all get benched. Sometimes they get their job back. Sometimes they don't. There's a report from Jeff McClain. This is interesting. From the Inquirer. After the game, Jeff McClain reports the following. There were no overt displays of anger for public consumption. The players who didn't perform took accountability. No one pointed blame. But frustrations with Hurts behind the scenes have been mounting, according to team sources, and may have reached a precipice. This conversation is worthy because I'm telling you guys, they're thinking about it down there. So let's get to it. Let me tell you where I stand, and again, you can weigh in 215-592-9494. Question 1. Should Jalen remain the Eagles' starting quarterback? Yes. I told you before the last game, I viewed it like a 2 to 3 week prism. Jalen's got 2 to 3 weeks to get this together, so I'm not going to cut that cord yet. Should he be the starting quarterback Sunday? Yes. Question 2, if you're inclined to start Hurts, do you think you'll go into McKee during the next game? I'm not there yet. I'm right on the edge. Right on the edge.
You're on the precipice?
On the precipice. But with the 2-game lead in the division, I'm still going to say no. I'm going to give Jalen the full next game, barring something so unbelievable. My inclination is to let Jalen play the full game. Question 3, am I open-minded to going to McKee, in a week or 2 or 3 before the playoff starts? Yes. That's where we are. And by the way, part of it isn't just about this season. McKee's the unknown. And as you look toward 2026 and beyond, you'd like to know what you have in the guy. I mean, you just would. I mean, so question 4, do I think Hurts is playing for his job next year? I do. And part of what complicates it is you know a little bit of what you have in McKee, but you don't really know because he hasn't played a game. And that even includes the Eagles coaching staff. They can have whatever opinion of him they have, and I'm sure behind the scenes, I mean, we've heard they're impressed. We know they're impressed. We've been impressed. The guy plays, a little bit last year. We were impressed. Preseason, we've been very impressed. So it's good to know you got that instead of, you don't, something's horrible. But you don't really know. And so there is an argument to make next year and this offseason upcoming simpler to get a look at the other guy to try to discern, well, which guy should I go with? So I'm sticking by Hurts for now, but I'm telling you guys, I underline for now because I could change in a week or 2. His play has been so horrendous. And I am so sick and tired of people pointing in the direction of the wrong people. It is not the offensive line. It is not Sirianni. It is not Petulla. And obviously part of what goes to this conversation, and we had it a million times after last year, but it's kind of back on the table, is how you assess what he and they did last year. I thought they largely carried him for the bulk of the season, and then, of course, he played exceptional at the end. That's how I read it. Some people read it that way. Some people read it like he's all world. I didn't. But I'll tell you this, I did have him as the 5th-ranked quarterback in Pro Football in my rankings entering this season because he didn't typically turn it over much. Obviously does typically win a lot of football games, is very focused, and has the legs. But guys, if he's not going to use the legs, he ain't that good. If he's not going to use the legs, he ain't that good. That's where I settle on it. Hurts this week, but beyond that, big old question mark unless he gets his act together.